Pizza time.
Hello, everyone. I am your host, TenderChickenGuy, and welcome back to a spooky story. Today we're going to be watching / playing Dagon, a Lovecraft horror story. Shall we begin?
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
So I found this game on Steam. It's free. Can't knock a free game. And it's a Lovecraft game. And I am all about Lovecraft. I believe it is a retelling of the story Dagon by H.P. Lovecraft. During the game, you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey. Others reveal interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background, and the author. Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find these secrets, focus your eye and look for the Elder sign. You can also access all the found facts later. They will be available in the main menu. Okay. So, control-wise, doesn't seem like I can move / walk or jump, any of that sort of thing. I think you can only move around with the mouse, which is fine. God damn you, Windows 11. Alright, let's take a look here.
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below.
Damn. Trying to commit suicide, mate? Oh shit.
Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate.
I've actually not read this horror story. I've read a lot of Lovecraft. The Dawn Witch horror, the Mouth of Innsmouth, Terror from Mountains of Madness, a few others.
When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Okay. So yeah, this is all new to me too. I've never read this, so I'm interested to hear it.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific.
Music, man. I want to hear the voice, not the music. We'll drop it down to 55. Here we go.
That the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
Okay.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation. So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
So this was, I think, World War I believe. This takes place during. Ah, okay. So I can look for clues. Okay, what's this about? The Huns were Central Asian nomads who established a dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors and master of quick raids, who also developed powerful composite bows, lassos, and early siege weapons. During World War I, the British used the word Hun as a synonym for Germans in order to emphasize their brutality However, the term originated when the German Emperor Wilhelm II gave a speech to his troops on the 27th July 1990, or 1900, before they embarked to China. Should you encounter the enemy, he will be defeated. No quarter will be given. Prisoners will not be taken. Whoever falls into your hands is forfeited. Just as 1,000 years ago, the Huns under their king, Attila, made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend. May the name German be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at a German. The refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of the laws and customs of war adopted during the First Hague Convention of 1899. Cool. Cool. Pretty cool. A little bit of history there.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone, in a small boat, with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Anything I can click on? Nope. Okay.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings.
This is pretty cool, man. It's an interactive, like, audiobook. I like it. I like it. It's pretty cool. Anything I can click on? Nope. Okay.
Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator. Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
So, something about Dagon I know from reading from the mouth of Innsmouth is he is the... I think he is a lesser... He's a lesser great old one than that of Cthulhu. I know that. But I am not 100% sure if he is a deity, necessarily. I think he's just a overgrown, deep one, pretty much. Like, the deep one that was chosen. But I do know that he is worshipped as a deity. But I believe he can be killed. So he's not, like, as horrifying as like Cthulhu or Nyarlathotep or any of those other ones.
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Damn, bro. Looks like you got some water and, like, I don't know, a bag of food. Oh, 2 bags of food. You're not gonna last very long, mate. I might have to go swimming.
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue.
Oh, shit.
The change happened whilst I slept. Its details I shall never know, for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
Oh, God. Fucking squid? The hell? Oh, are these the Star Children? The Star Children, Cthulhu's, spawn. This doesn't... You're on a... It's on a, like a... This looks like some kind of a moon or something.
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see.
I think these are the star children. They're supposed to be a bit bigger, I think, but...
And in which my boat lay grounded some distance away.
Yeah, dude. Looks like that boat's not going anywhere.
Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished.
I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you.
For there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending
Yeah, bro, there ain't
plain.
no fish. That might be a squid. That thing right there has got like crab legs and tentacles. Like, bro.
Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear.
Oh, God. Looks like one of the bugs from Silent Hill, man.
The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
Yeah, I don't think you're on Earth anymore, mate. You're probably in like a dreamscape or something. Anything I can click on? Okay. Ugh.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position.
Oh, God. It's like all the water just like dried up.
Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths.
That's one way to rationalize it.
So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might.
Oh my God, what's that? Holy shit, that's a big thing over there. It's pulsating. Dude.
Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
Bro. This ain't normal.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens.
I don't think the boat's gonna do much for you, mate. You might want to start hiking. You know? Start booking it, man.
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time. That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
Dude, you're on land. Why go back to the sea? Don't go back to the sea, man. Just stay where you're at. Start hiking.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease.
Ugh, what is that? Ah. Ugh.
The odor of the fish was
Like a giant
maddening,
bobbit
but I
worm.
was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
Like a giant bobbit worm, man. It's, ugh. Oh, God, don't walk over it.
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the
Bro,
rolling
that's
desert.
not normal. What the f... Is that smiling? Dude, you're awfully calm about this. Do you... Those things aren't... Those things aren't real. They don't exist in our oceans, mate. I don't think. I hope not. I hope not. Ah, what the hell, man? That looks like one of the bugs from Starship Troopers. Okay. Duh. Okay, now, come on. You know this stuff isn't... Is that a whale? Oh, poor guy. You poor man. Damn. I feel sad for that whale, man. Alright.
That night, I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
Dude, you have nothing to say about this. Giant flippin' worms, and you have nothing to say about this. Okay. Okay. Yeah, what the fuck, bro? Horrors of the Ocean. The creator of the Cthulhu mythos in the fictional underwater city of Relay was convinced that life could not exist at the bottom of the ocean because the water pressure would make it uninhabitable. Today, we know that the darkest depths of the ocean are home to many peculiar organisms. The deepest dwelling fish we have discovered so far, the Mariana snailfish, can live about 8,000 meters, more than 26,000 feet below the ocean's surface. In never-ending darkness and at hellishly crushing pressures, hundreds of the times stronger than those found at sea level. Upon glancing at the modern photos of deep-sea creatures such as the anglerfish, the fangtooth or the viperfish, and their truly Lovecraftian characteristics, it's hard not to find some irony in this. Yeah, ocean is terrifying. Legit terrifying. But these right here do not exist in our oceans, I'm pretty sure. I hope not. God, please, I hope not. That would suck.
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance.
Yeah, I feel like, I almost feel like all the water just evaporated and we're on, like, the bottom of the ocean floor. Is that something? No? There's something there. I see it shining. Can't click on it, though.
An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill.
Shadows are never a good thing in Lovecraft, mate. Never a good thing.
I know not why my dreams were so wild that night.
More wild than where you're at currently?
But ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern
God,
plain.
I love early, like, English words, man. They sound so, like, elite.
I was awake in a cold perspiration,
Refined.
determined to sleep no more.
Okay.
Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. And in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day.
What does that mean?
Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy.
Oh, true, yeah. Makes sense.
Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
God, I love this voice, man. This narrator's great. Well, let me see first. Is there anything I can click on? Yes, there is. The loner. Contrary to popular opinion, Lovecraft was not an ever-frowning, eccentric, grumpy loner. He considered himself to be a person who appreciated humor. More, however, he would often meet with friends in his apartment or at various cafes in Brooklyn and in Manhattan. At times, his social life was so intensive, his work would suffer for months. There was a point when he finally decided he needed to put an end to daily meetings and loitering in New York cafeterias, and resorted to hiding at home and reading with the main room light turned off, pretending he wasn't there whenever a friend knocked on his door. He also had another method of deterring his guests, which involved greeting them in a bathrobe, with an unmade bed visible in the background and piles of papers scattered across the floor. Sounds like he was pretty eccentric to me, man. But what do I know?
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon.
Black, oh.
Whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine. I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night.
You sure you're not in the Marianas Trench, mate?
Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise
Lost.
And of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined. Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent.
Dude, what is this tar/slime?
Whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual. Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath.
So, the deities that the Deep Ones worship are Mother Hydra and Father Dagon. So I'm not 100% sure if they're actual deities or not. I think they're just like demigods of sorts, but it might turn out that he actually is one of the old ones.
Gazing into the Stygian deeps, where no light had yet penetrated.
I know they're all part of that whole Cthulhu hierarchy type thing.
All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me.
Yeah, it's like one of those monoliths from Dead Space, mate.
an object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
Bro, it's gonna bring back the dead. Gonna bring back the necromorphs.
That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself.
Yeah, I don't think it is, mate. Pretty sure you're about to not be in such good shape.
But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature.
Nope. Just like Stonehenge, mate.
A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express. For despite its enormous magnitude, and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith.
Yeah, the monolith from 2001 Space Odyssey. I mean, yeah.
Whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures.
What was the music for?
Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
Let's not do that, please. That music about? Okay.
The moon, now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm. And revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the Cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
Making sure there's no hidden little thingies. Okay.
The
Damn, how'd you get up that high,
was in a system
mate?
of hieroglyphics unknown to me and unlike anything I'd ever seen in
You got up
books.
pretty high. Alright. Oh yeah. So let's see. You got... Well, that looks like a Cthulhu in the middle.
Consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like. Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world, but whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
Dagon contains many themes and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed in his later works, such as telling the story through carvings at the Mountains of Madness, the Nameless City, journals and characters' notes, the Shadow Out of Time and the Hunter of the Dark, islands emerging from the ocean, Call of Cthulhu, or fictional beings and deities based on real events and mythologies, Miko, and the Whisper in the Darkness. It's also considered the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of Lovecraft's other stories also include in a matter similar to Dagon. But let's skip the details in order not to spoil the ending. I do like At the Mountains of Madness. Really good book, or story.
Plainly visible across the intervening water on account of their enormous size were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a Doré.
Ah, those are deep ones? Ah, sweet.
I think that these things were supposed to depict men, At least a certain
The deep
sort of
ones,
men.
bro.
Though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine
Hell yeah.
grotto. Or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well. Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint.
Yo, them deep ones scary, bro.
Grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer.
I don't know who these are supposed to be. Is that supposed to be Dagon, the middle one there? Maybe?
They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall. Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background. For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself.
Alright, now that's Dagon. That is Dagon.
I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born.
I don't think so, mate.
Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly, I saw it.
Hello?
With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters. Vast, Polyphemus-like and loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the moment,
Hey! Dagon, my guy! What up, bro?
about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, the while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds.
My boy! What's cooking, good looking?
I think I went mad.
I think it
then.
went mad, yeah. It happens. It happens.
Of my frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember.
Why would you go back to the boat, bro? Dude. Going back to the boat's not gonna help.
I believe I sang a great deal, and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing.
Yeah, you look like you're going crazy, mate.
I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods. When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital.
What? Bro! How'd you get out of the... How'd you... What?
Brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention.
Okay, so this was all in his head then. They like to fuck with your head, Cthulhu, the Lovecraftian beings and whatnot.
Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing.
It's all about the mindscape and whatnot.
nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
Lovecraft was a prominent figure in the world of amateur journalism. In 1915, he started publishing his own journal called The Conservative, which included political and social commentary, poetry, short stories, and literary criticism written by him and other authors. Howard was a skilled wordsmith, but he also took criticisms to heart, which resulted in his decision to step away from writing poetry and concentrate on the weird fiction again. For the first time since his teenage years, Dagon, published in 1919, is one of the short stories written during that period. In this excerpt from The Conservative, the master of horror fiction explains his attitude towards warfare and the idea of world peace. Why any sane human being can believe in the possibility of the universe peace is more than the conservative can fathom. Could the entire civilized world agree simultaneously to disarm, one or more nations would undoubtedly retain secret armaments, and at the proper time take advantage of their more altruistic and less astute contemporaries in a wild career of conquest against unarmed victims. No country is or ever can be above warfare until the basic impulses of the human animal shall have miraculously changed. I butchered that so bad. Alright. God, I'm not used to these big words. Me, my dum-dum brain. Okay.
Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
Well, hello there. How are you doing this fine evening? Okay. Let's talk about our boy Dagon. Dagon was the main deity of the Philistines, worshipped throughout the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crops. In Hebrew, the word Dagon was a common noun for grain. The rulers of Akkad, Mesopotamia, chose him as the patron saint of their war conquests. He also appeared as the judge of the dead in an Israeli poem, an underworld prison warden in one of the Babylonians' texts. He is often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretation of his name. As in Hebrew, the word dag means fish. In H.P. Lovecraft's works, Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that reside in the oceans. He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. I knew that. God damn it. So, I think he is still a demigod. I don't think he's quite a great old one. If he is very much so weaker than Cthulhu for sure. He might be his kid. I think he might be his kid, but I can't remember. Okay. It's been a while since I've read those stories.
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
Oh, damn, son, you got a Necronomicon just sitting there? Bro! You can't just have that sitting there, bro. That's one of the most deadly, most powerful books ever. Come on, bruh. August Derleth was an American writer and anthologist. He also befriended Lovecraft and published many of his works through his company, Arkham House. Although he greatly contributed to the popularization of the author's works after his death, he is surrounded by numerous controversies. One of his most questionable decisions involved introducing the good and evil doctrine. Derleth was a devout Catholic to the Cthulhu's mythos, which contrasted with Lovecraft's view of the world and his approach to cosmic horror. As a result, the author's works are often misunderstood and misrepresented in today's culture. It is also worth noting that Lovecraft was never really interested in creating a mythology, and the term Cthulhu mythos was coined by Derleth after the author left the mortal plane. Yeah, Lovecraft died penniless. He didn't get shit for his work. It wasn't until he died that, people started to get into it. Which is unfortunate. It happens a lot of times with great authors. I mean, say what you want about the man. He did insanely good horror work. Even though he was definitely not the most morally great man ever. Okay. Do I... No? Okay. Wait. Alright.
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing.
Okay, so this is rolling back around to the beginning where he's about to kill himself. I guess.
I tried morphine.
Gotta try something that's just a slightly bit harder than that, mate.
But the drug has given only transient surcease, and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
Lovecraft hated tobacco, even though he used to smoke when he was 12, in order to look and feel like an adult. In his correspondence with friend Reinhard Kleiner, he claimed that he quit as soon as he started wearing long pants. He also had a very strong opinion about alcohol, as evidenced by his letter to Zelia Brown, dated 13 February 1928. As for the matter of drinking, I have never tasted intoxicating liquor, and never intend to, having a strong aesthetic disgust at anything which blunts or courses the delicate nature of equipoise of the evolved human intellect and imagination. Bro, you can't just be throwing words at me like this. Drinking excited by personal repugnance, hence I don't drink. Let the herd do what they will. I am rather in favor of prohibition. The prohibition of any one antisocial force as well as any other. Oh, damn, he was in favor of the prohibition. That's crazy. The source, the spirit of revision, Lovecraft's letter to Zelia Brown. Read Bishop H.P. Lovecraft. John Branney and Andrew Lehman. S.T. Joshi. So he was like an atheist through and through, but he was against using any... I can see that. I can see that. That's why he uses, like, drugs a lot in his stories. As a way to, like, numb the senses.
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm.
No.
A mere freak of fever, as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat, after my escape from the German man-of-war. This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed.
I feel that!
Worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind.
Damn, we just went full nihilism.
Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Well, he's gone.
The end is near. I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against
the deep ones, mate. They're coming for you. You saw something you shouldn't have. All right. Well, I guess let me go ahead and open the door for him. Boop.
It shall not find me.
It's not. It's going to.
God, that hand! The window! The window!
Bro. Oh, damn, that was it. We hope you enjoyed the immersing yourself in our little pool of cosmic horror. We would appreciate it if you took a moment to rate Dagon and check out our other games. I liked it. It was very good. It wasn't scary, but the whole idea of cosmic horror isn't so much to like, ooh. It's more so to like give you a sense of dread, because you're like, it's supposed to put you in a box. Right? We're humans. We think we're superior. We've conquered every animal on the planet, right? But what happens if all that gets tested? Our knowledge of the universe gets thrown aside. Everything we knew about the world is all wrong. It's just in face of like a great misunderstanding of cosmic forces, we know nothing. And that's what I love about Lovecraft is he essentially takes these people, most of the time intelligent people like doctors and people who question stuff, and he puts them in this world where everything they thought they knew is nothing like what it seems. And it essentially just questions the very existence of humans and about what we think of good and evil. Like these beings, these gods out there in the stars, they don't care about good and evil. It's a man-made concept to us. And when these things don't fit in our box of what's good and evil and what's natural and unnatural, it's hard for humanity to come to terms with it. And that's what Lovecraft does so well. That's why I love movies like The Alien, or Aliens, or The Thing. It's because it's like they're not evil necessarily. They're just, they exist, and they don't fit within our group. Our shallow minds can't comprehend that these things are just out there. You know, it's essentially like it's like when the humanity's social structure is just stripped away, kind of like the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks. Like when society's tore down, when there's nothing there, when it's just you and an island, all rules are tossed out the window. The fragile structure of humanity's gone. It's just you and your psyche, and you have to do whatever you can to maintain it, because the nature, the world, the universe doesn't care. The only thing that it cares about is turning. That's what I love so much about Lovecraft. But yes, I enjoyed it. Go check it out on Steam. It's I will maybe put a link below, and check it out for yourself. There are some DLCs which I don't think I will be playing. But yeah, this was fun. So this has been Tender Chicken, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.